and I am the chairman for the Board of Health. This is a remote opening statement. This open meeting of the Northborough Board of Health is being conducted in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair, yours truly, notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream or the recording of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not, and I repeat, will not feature public comment. Let's see, the chair confirms that all commission members and anticipated agenda participants are present remotely and can be heard. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. You have 3 today. Dilip Jain. Present. Lisa Johnson.
Present.
Glenn French. Present. Want to go through it? Members as well? I think we're good. Staff is here. Ready, willing, and able. And with that, now for something completely different. We're going to take over the amended meeting agenda.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So we are going to be talking about tobacco underage compliance check. So with us on Zoom, we have Sarah McColgan from the Massachusetts Health Officers Association. She is the Tobacco Control Director. Sarah, if you want to just introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with you. As Isabel said, I'm the director of the Massachusetts Health Officers Association Tobacco Control Program, and this year we have the pleasure of working with a lot of boards of health that are not part of regionally funded tobacco programs, and we're able to provide various services to them, and Northborough is one of them. So here to answer any questions that you folks might have about that.
So Michael does our regular tobacco inspection. So we have 15 permits and that's been going smoothly. But the more tricky part is the underage compliance checks because it includes hiring or paying, incentivizing a youth, which is a little bit more hard for municipalities. So MHOA is able to do that a little bit more easily. So they are going to, if you guys agree, we'll plan to do the underage compliance checks for those 15 permits. And Sarah, it's once a year, correct?
It is.
Is this in replacing the Worcester Tobacco? We used to partner with them and they would come around and do that for
So
us?
that must have been a few years ago, Sarah. I don't know if you have the history, but for the last
That was a while.
since maybe like 3-5 years ago, we haven't been part of a tobacco collaborative.
Right.
And we had compliance, I'm sorry, last time compliance checks were when? I thought it was
By this organization or the Worcester, I don't have that.
not by Worcester, but
FDA has done some of that.
the town itself.
I don't know.
No, I don't.
But FDA
I
does
thought
do
we-
something.
I thought we had like 98% pass rate.
You mean-
Not too long ago.
The inspections or the underage compliance checks?
The inspections, I think it was the inspections.
Oh.
Applying for the first or the second, or that's what we approved. But the underage, I don't think we've done it for some time.
We only have 15 permits. We used to have a lot of permits. I remember, they did think of something else. It was tattoo parlors or
We're
something.
headed in the right direction.
15, all right, I'm
So
sorry.
is that like an announced underage check, unannounced, or is it you tell the businesses you're gonna be doing it?
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to describe a little bit about what an underage compliance check looks like?
Sure. We have a number of inspectors spread throughout the state, and they have extensive training. Some of them work in health departments during the day, and they do tobacco control in the evening. Some of them are full-time tobacco control people, and they have young people that they work with to do these underage compliance checks. The young people are trained. They attend a training that's been developed by the state, and they learn, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, things like that. So the young person goes out in the car of the inspector with the inspector, and the inspector will go to each of your permitted stores, and the young person will exit the vehicle, go into the store, and attempt to purchase a tobacco or a vape or any sort of a nicotine product, generally under the direction of the adult supervisor. They may say, we want you to try and buy this, or we want you to try and buy that. Sometimes it's just left up to the young person. They're between the ages of 16 and just shy of their 21st birthday. Generally, they're coming to you with experience already working in other municipalities. And so, in with 15 stores, the inspector and the young person would come into Northborough either one afternoon after school or on a Saturday or a Sunday, come in, go store to store, and probably be out of Northborough in less than 3 hours, or right around 3 hours. All of the data is entered into a state database that's called POST, Point of Sale Toolkit, and that's entered in by the inspector. The inspector then will transmit that to me, probably either that day or the next business day, and then I'll send a report to the health department, which tells you every store that was visited, whether they sold to the minor, sold to the underage person or not, and what the results were. Did they ask the person for their ID? Did they not ask the person for their ID and just make the sale anyway? So a lot of different possibilities could come up. If there is a sale made, the report will indicate what was purchased, and there will also be photographs potentially taken of what was purchased, and that'll all be part of the report. The photographs get downloaded into the report. Along with the report, I would send to the Board of Health my recommendation for enforcement based on the state law from 2019, and for if it's a sale to somebody underage, the first sale is $1,000 fine, and that's mandated that local boards of health um, institute that fining system. So it's 1,000 on the first sale, 2,000 on the second, and 3,000 on the third, along with permit suspensions, which are at the board's discretion. When I reviewed your current regulations, I see that you've already set the time frames on your permit suspensions. So that's great that you've done that ahead of time. I think that's about it. When then your department would issue a cease and desist correction order to the anybody who's violated. They have the opportunity to have a hearing before the board. If the board would like to have the inspector at that hearing, either live or virtually, that can be arranged. The young person will not be at the hearing. They don't attend Board of Health hearings. All of the testimony is given by the inspector. And we follow up from there as far as once the fine is paid and the health department informs us of that, we close the case out within the state database. The nice advantage of the database is that you can go back and look at any previous violations, either during inspections that Mike's going to be doing or during compliance checks, and see if this store has a good record of complying with the law, or Every time you go out, there's a sale and it's showing up in compliance checks. So it gives the board a good picture of the history of that vendor.
Under our bylaws, first offense was what? Same, that, is it really?
That's a state law.
The state law?
It's
Was
a
it all?
state law. For anything that's a violation of the state law, it's $1,000 fine. You have some local policies within your regulation, including you have cigar pricing policy, and you have the ban on blunt wraps. So those types of local policies have a lower fine. Generally, it's 100 for the first, 200 for the second, 300 for the third. But if it's a violation of the state law, then it's mandated 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. And if the board signs the MOU that I've provided to you, one of the stipulations in the MOU is that you agree to follow the fining structure on the state law. We've seen some boards that have been in a situation like Northborough where they haven't had any compliance checks in a lot of years, or they haven't had inspections in a lot of years, and they're issuing warnings. I can't stop you from doing that, but it's very dangerous if you do that, because if you're going to issue a warning to my store right now, what about the store down the street? When he sells a year or two from now, are you going to issue a warning to them also? What about when I sell my store to somebody else and they have a sale to somebody under 21? Are you going to issue a warning to them because it's a brand new record, a brand new store? So issuing warnings are a slippery slope for a board of health to go down. When you look at the history of tobacco control in Massachusetts, we've been issuing fines to vendors for over 25 years. And the state law has been in effect since 2020 when it took effect. All tobacco retailers in the state have received a number of different mailings from both the Department of Public Health and the Department of Revenue regarding this new state law and the ramifications of selling to somebody under 21 or selling a flavored product, which is also banned under the state law. So the retailers know what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. So issuing them a warning is not helping to get them to comply. It's just telling them that they got away with it, and maybe they'll get away with it next time too.
Mistakes happen. We've gone back and forth on this. You're running a store, you're hiring a kid, coming there after school.
Yeah.
Right? And someone comes in, looks the part, kid sells it, the store owner goes down, it has $1,000 fine, kid leaves, another kid comes in, working that store, same thing, it's the same. Back to this, when we did these regulations years ago, I don't like it, I don't mind the compliance checks, but I don't like triggering that $1,000 fine right away.
Well,
My
under
own.
state law, the board has the responsibility to do that. And like I said, I can't force you to do that, but under state law, the Board of Health is mandated to issue those fines. When you say that, the kid looks the kid that comes in to buy in the store looks the part of the new state law says that everyone, including someone with as much gray hair as I have, has to be asked for identification on a tobacco related sale. So it's like when you go to Fenway or Gillette or the Boston Garden, if you want to buy a beer, which is an age restricted product, then you have to show them your ID. And you don't just show them your ID once. If you go back and get a beer again a little while later, you're going to have to show them your ID again. So tobacco is now exactly the same. You have to be ID'd every single time that there's a sale. So, selling to somebody who looks the part is not acceptable anymore because it people always said, well, they looked old enough. So now the state has taken care of that and solved that problem.
Yeah, it's been a while since I personally bought tobacco related or smoke related
Yep.
things.
Yep.
It's true now, they do cut everybody every single time. No
Every
matter,
time. Yeah.
Just like with alcohol, they do that.
now, how often do these compliance checks occur?
Under the memorandum of understanding that we would have with you if you sign off on it, we would do at least one compliance check a year in Northborough. If we have time before the end of the fiscal year to go back and check anybody who sold again, we would first make sure that the first sale had been disposed of. Have they paid their fine? Have they served their permit suspension? And then we would check them again if we have the money in our budget and if we have time. Now, when I'm talking about if we have time, you have an MOU before you for FY25, which is quickly coming to a close. Um, if we, depending on how fast that gets through your town's approval process, we might be able to get to you in FY25. If we don't, then we need to send you a whole new memorandum of understanding that would be exactly the same, except for it would say FY26. And so, we would have the full year to be able to get you into the schedule and get the work done. The other thing that I want to tell you about time is this program is only funded through the end of FY26. Right now, we don't have any indication from the Department of Public Health that that funding will be extended. We're funded through ARPA money, and that money's running out. So, what happens in FY27? Part of the reason why the state has invested this money into this process is to increase the capacity of your health department to take this on. And it's great that Mike can do the inspections. That's terrific. Taking on the compliance checks might be a little more difficult. It might help to come together with other municipalities in your area, other unfunded municipalities, either in your shared services agreement or maybe the one next door, and hire, have Mike trained if you'd like to, or somebody else hire that person or make it part of their normal work schedule, whatever. And then they could hire a young person who would be trained to go from Northborough to, the next town to the next town and they would do the compliance checks that way. So it would be, a kind of a one-off with the young folks. They're only going to go in each store once. But if you had a bulk of towns, a few towns at least, that had, say, 40 or 50 stores with yours included, then it might be possible to find a young person who will be willing to be trained to do that. But again, we don't have any indication that we are going to be able to do that. The Board of Health contracts through the state, the funded contracts, come up for reprocurement for FY28, which leaves a gap in FY27 of us not having any money and you not having the ability to possibly get into a Board of Health funded contract. And even when they do come up for reprocurement, there's never any guarantee that a town the size of Northborough, with your smoking rates and things like that, would be funded by the state. So We're trying to increase your capacity because things are, things are kind of in flux and we don't know what'll happen in the future.
Thank you, where does the fine go to?
The fine goes to the town. There are a lot of municipalities in Massachusetts that have garnered a lot of money since this happened. There's an awful lot of retailers in Massachusetts that have paid more than $5,000 in fines. Maybe they've had a sixth violation or a seventh violation. There are some folks who have had their permits revoked because they've hit the point where the Board of Health has found the violations to be egregious and revoked their permits. But all of the money goes to the individual town.
Again, do we have, as a board, discretion to not issue the fine? But it has to, the problem occurs, the violation occurs, and from what I'm getting is the fine has to be issued, there's no discretion on the board here.
You're mandated by the state to enforce this state law. If you don't enforce this state law, what can I do to you? Absolutely nothing. However, MHOA may decide, okay, Northborough didn't follow their agreement in the MOU, and so we're not going to provide services to you anymore. And that would be a decision on the part of MHOA. So if you don't intend to follow the mandate of the state law, then I would suggest you not sign off on the MOU. I mean, we have an agreement that we're going to do A, B, and C, and on your end, you're agreeing to do D, E, and F, so.
Does this coordinate with our bylaws? You know what I mean?
Bylaws say it right now.
Yeah,
It does, it absolutely does. A year ago, we had the conversation.
all right.
And if you're going to take the responsibility and spend the money to get the permit to sell tobacco or tobacco-related products, you need to know the rules. And if they're not going to follow the rules, they're going to pay the price. But it's the young people that are sucked into this by big tobacco, with public health, with Board of Health. And I think to send the message to families, to our community, it's important. And hopefully there won't be any violations.
Right.
They knew that from 2020. And if they don't know that, they're ignoring it.
Right. I mean, what we hope for is a compliance check with no sales in Northborough. That would be a great afternoon. Maybe you'll have one sale, maybe you'll have two sales. But maybe you'll have more than that. We did a small town recently who I would prefer not to name that had 4 stores in the town and half of them sold. So they had a 50% sale rate.
Wow, that's a
Sometimes, and Mike may see this when he goes out and does inspections. Sometimes half of the stores or more than half of the stores are selling products that are illegal. They're selling flavored tobacco products, also part of the 2019 state law. So, and some towns have been terrific. Some of the smaller towns that haven't gotten services in years and years have been great. They go out, get an inspection, and maybe they need some signs. That's okay. But they don't have any flavored products. They don't have any self-service displays. They don't have anything else that would otherwise be a state law violation. And the problem with lower fines is retailers look at it as the cost of doing business. If you fine them $100, how much money have they made, in the process of selling tobacco products to underage youth? So $100 is a drop in the bucket because they've made more than that.
Is there a reminder notice that goes out prior to any inspections taking place saying, hey, shop owner, permit holder, be reminded that, compliance checks could take place, or be reminded that this is because it's been 5 years since we've had any compliance checks.
Ignorance of the law
Well,
is not
a
an
reminder of
excuse
the
to break the
law
law.
should be good. Should
Do you
be,
get a reminder notice when you're driving down the Mass Pike or any other highway that that you might pass a speed trap and you're gonna end up with a ticket if you're speeding?
a reminder every day with a big sign saying speed limit is.
Okay, so every day there's going to be a big sign in that store that tells not only the community, but also the people that work in that store and the owner of that store that it's illegal to sell tobacco products to anybody under the age of 21. And if you look at the fine print on the bottom of the sign, it also talks about the fines and that the fine is 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. So they're getting their signs also. I think generally we're all expected to follow the law and not have to be warned. Don't forget, you need to behave and you need to follow the law. It's an expectation. These people are in a business, that they know that if they have a big spill in front of their cooler and somebody slips and falls, they can't say, "Oh, sorry, nobody reminded me that I needed to clean it up," and so you can't sue me.
You got
It's just
15
part
permits
of
in this
business.
town. I don't see there being a problem with reminding from the Board of Health. Remind them, pay
Send it
attention.
out. If you're going to do that, send it out in enough time so that they won't realize that the next day or the day after they're going to have a compliance check. Because if they think that, then they're not going to be selling to anybody. And then as soon as the compliance check is over, they'll go back to their original practice, whatever it was. So if you're going to do that, send it out now, even before that MOU gets signed. And then we can go from there. We don't announce ahead of time that we're
No.
going out. Most of the time, the health department may not even know that we're going out ahead of time. We don't send any sort of a notification or suggest that you send any notification to anybody congratulating them for following the law, because that backfires if you ever end up in court on a different violation. They'll say, "Look, I've got these congratulation letters." So, there are things that we do and there are things that we don't do. But if you want to remind them not just of compliance checks, but of their responsibility to follow all the other provisions within the state law, that's great. Just send it out now.
I would suggest we do that. I don't know about reminding them of compliance checks.
Well, that they can't sell to somebody under the age of 21.
And maybe if you get in the habit of doing it at the beginning of every year, sending out that letter. that's
They
what mine-
already have. I sent them
They'll do
out
that
for
already.
myself.
They
Yep.
know what they need to do.
Listen,
If they are
we
breaking
are-
the law, they need to be called on it.
Well, it's no, Glenn, about 2 months ago, I sent out, welcome everybody, and reminding everybody that inspections are gonna happen again on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
Please review your regulations, make sure you have your signs up, and your humidors are locked, I'll see you soon.
Make sure your employees are reminded of this as well. This is not this,
There's a training online for the employees at the MHOA website, and there's a postcard that health departments can distribute to all of their vendors that has a QR code, and you can get routed directly to that training. It's probably about 20 minutes. It's anonymous. That we do ask, what town the store is in. We don't ask the name of the store. We don't ask the name of the person. What town is the store in, and what is that person's responsibility in that store? Are they doing customer service, cashier work? Are they owner, manager? And then they take the training, and so that is available in English and Spanish. And then part of our funding through the state now is to establish additional trainings. They won't be rolled out until sometime in FY26, that are aimed at retailers, because it's been my contention all along that we don't have enough training for the retailers. but there's over 7,000 of them. So we can't do anything other than relying on health departments to, make sure that they renew their permits every year. Um, Send them out things. I send things to health departments all the time saying, you might want to send this out to your retailers, or they get notifications in the MHOA newsletter about particular things and remind your retailers about this. So that's kind of the best we can do with 7,000 places in Massachusetts to be checked.
Just, when we updated the regulations in 2023, I provided a copy of the regulations in a folder to every retailer with a training sign-off sheet. I encourage them that every new hire they have to review the tobacco regulations and have them sign it. Not I can mandate, but I do check that when I go in.
I mean, I'm not opposed to this. I know I'm asking some questions. I'm not opposed to the compliance checks. I just don't wanna all of a sudden, wake up and say, we had a compliance check and we haven't had them since, 5 years ago, I think.
But
They may
have-
not know that.
Got everything, if they got notices and, obviously there's a lot more tobacco going on than I know about. But, we are a business-friendly community here in Northborough. And we're down to 15 permits, which is the anti-tobacco people is pretty good.
Yep.
I think I've asked enough questions on my behalf. Anyone from the board, any other board members have any questions?
Well, we're business friendly. We're not tobacco friendly. If tobacco is something a business decides to sell, they have that right. They also need to abide by the law. And as a Board of Health, if we're not supporting health-related law, then why are we here?
We're supporting it. It's just a matter of whether we're going to send in compliance check people without saying, hey, guess what? Compliance checks are back on. Retrain your people, make sure everybody knows.
They never went away. They're not bad.
We haven't had any in 5 years.
Not the Board of Health, but the FDA has done compliance checks. And the Department of Revenue also goes out and checks stores for untaxed. So if there's a flavored product being sold in any of your stores, it's untaxed because they can't be sold in Massachusetts. So they've probably brought it in from another state and have avoided having to pay the Massachusetts sales tax and the fact that they're not legal to be selling that product. So the Department of Revenue is out in stores all the time. The FDA is out. If there's any FDA violations, you get a notification from my office about it. And you can't do anything about it because, and it serves more as a warning from you folks. You can't do anything about it because the FDA inspector is not appointed by you. And usually by the time you find out about it, about 2 months has passed. So it's not really fair to the retailer for you to find them. But the FDA they do issue a warning on the first violation, and then they issue fines after that. Their fines are much lower than Massachusetts. But they are out and they do compliance checks the same exact way that we do. And so, your stores have been checked. It's just it hasn't happened
Sending
on
the
health
the
departments.
the selling tobacco to minors.
I think the FDA does that.
Yeah.
Right, Sarah?
They do? Do we
Right.
know the last time they did it?
2023 that I'm familiar with. I haven't looked this year, so I don't know for a
That's
fact.
interesting.
But a little while ago, it was before, right, soon, excuse me. It was, I believe, the March before we had executed the new regulations, July of 2023.
And
Yeah, it would take me a couple minutes to pull up your FDA violations. I don't know if you want to and keep, I can do that and you can keep talking and then I can let you know what the standing was with the FDA or whether you not want me to bother pulling them up.
I'm okay. Do you need to see that?
I can pull them up for you.
We'll get those, taking enough time, I think.
Yeah.
I guess we're ready to, we have to vote on this matter?
Yep, so vote, and then KP Law, Sarah, again, they reviewed this MOU. Stephanie Bacon, our town administrator, also reviewed it.
All right.
It's the same MOU that's gone to all towns. KP had some edits that they wanted, so we did edit it, and now we're distributing the the MOU that they are happy with.
We have to move to,
I would say appoint MHOA as the tobacco control agent for underage compliance checks.
As a tobacco control agent. That way it gives, you know, you've still got Mike, who is also a tobacco control agent.
So I move that we approve MHOA as a tobacco control system to do compliance checks for underage tobacco sales.
A second.
all those in favor?
All
Unanimous.
unanimous.
Very good. So you'll send the MOU through the process of the town, whoever needs to sign off on it, and then send it back to me. And I think we're all set. After that, we will schedule your compliance checks.
Perfect, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you,
All right.
Sarah.
Thank you. Have a good night, folks.
We will send.
So just so you know that I visited about half of the stores so
Yeah.
far, and I have given them a wink reminder.
Good, that's all. Let's bring things on, I mean, we have to figure ourselves poison. Okay,
Enough of that.
how about something nice, like North Court?
There you go. There you go.
Another one of my favorite,
There you go.
my favorite subjects. How are we doing at North Court?
That's great. No, everything's good.
Good.
Pretty stabilized as far as our membership goes and financials go. We just celebrated our 60th anniversary last summer, so we're happy about that. And yeah, looking for new.
Cool.
It is an old pool, yeah. We're looking for members, so if you know of anyone who's looking to join, please reach out.
Since you guys had to come before the board, I believe it was 2 years ago,
2022, yes.
about 3 years ago. There've been no incidents, right?
No, not at all. No.
Our attention.
The letter we had from last year said that we came, Greg Hoppenrath, I think, came last year to the board as well.
Jake and
Jake,
and someone else.
yeah, I think it was Greg and Jake.
Greg, yes, Greg
Yeah,
and Jake.
yeah, Greg's the president and Jake is the chair. So we're, back obviously in front of you guys today, seeking the same variance for the, allowing members to swim, without a lifeguard for certain hours. We'll have our lifeguards on duty, through the summer hours, Monday through Friday. They'll be on 9 to 4, and then Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to 4. There is a window of the season on either end where school is still in session, so we open up on Memorial Day. So for that interim between Memorial Day and when the school ends, we'll have just the weekend hours of 10 to 4. And same on the other side where school has started, but the pool hasn't shut down. Nothing has changed from a layout perspective at the pool year over year. We have our signage up, we have the fenced in area, it's secured, we have our phone line, we have a separate key code for our pool house. So pretty much everything has been kind of status quo for us for year over year. Also, in addition, we require an adult from each or family member, family caregiver to have CPR certification. And that would allow us to kind of have at least one person who's CPR trained for 8 individuals in the pool at a given time. In addition to that CPR training, we'll also require our members to have Red Cross water and safety course, and that's for the parents and the caregivers as well.
Safer than normal, honestly.
So, yeah, I mean,
That sounds,
the busy time, essentially the busy time of the pool, yes. Other than that, it's the parents are there to monitor. No one under the age of 16 can swim alone.
There's an insurance, if I remember correctly, special language on the insurance or holding the indemnification clause.
I think it was just, the variance from 2022 said approval from their insurance company to post a warning, no lifeguard on duty, swim at your own risk.
So we have those signage, we have like 3 different signs that indicate that.
Did town council ever do anything with an indemnification clause?
Nothing.
Where if something happened that we as the board of the town would be held not responsible?
We have our own,
We've got liability insurance.
yeah, we have liability insurance, we have.
Or I guess the town has liability insurance.
Yeah, we have direct and O&M as well.
Alright. Do we have the variance from last year? We can just piggyback off of.
Those- Those were the 4 bullet points, but it is a renewal of the variance. If you want to make the motion.
So we just
Variance or approved.
There's nothing.
okay, I'm going to move that we renew the variance from 2022, 23, 23, and 2024 as they were written for the North Court pool operation for the year of 2025. All those in favor? All right, unanimous.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a safe, wonderful.
As hot as it is in here right now, I'm gonna come with that poll.
Yeah, I got my sweater on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the time, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the patience.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
If you didn't hear it, he's on the ZBA, so he's used to these meetings.
Okay. How about going on with the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health update?
I'm gonna actually pass it to Michaela, our shared service coordinator and regional epidemiologist.
Yes, I think when I was introduced, I don't know if you were at the meeting, so it's nice to meet you. I'm Michaela. But yeah, update on Greater Boroughs. It's a busy time of year. We're doing our work planning and budget for next year. But kind of want to highlight some services that we've been doing. Our regional nurse Penny has been covering Maven cases as they come in. We've had a nice reprieve in between respiratory and tick-borne season and foodborne illness season. So we're kind of catching our breath before the summer begins. She's also been hosting blood pressure clinics at the housing authorities twice a month in Northborough, as well as once a month in Boylston. So getting out in the community for those. She's also been doing home wellness checks and medication review. Those have kind of dwindled, but we're working on getting more referrals. And then she is adding CPR trainings to the housing authority visits. So she will be teaching hands-only CPR at the housing authority, I think next week, actually. So that's a good addition. We're working on getting some more trainings. And then as far as additional outreach, we hosted 2 breastfeeding workshops last month, one in Northborough and one in Westborough. The Northborough one was our first one. We had 1 participant, but she enjoyed the session and it went really well. And then in Westborough, we had 5 couples show up and attend the training and had positive feedback from all of them as well. And then as far as kind of other updates, I'm the regional epi, so I do the bi-weekly infectious disease updates. Again, taking a bit of a break and restructuring that as we enter tick mosquito season, getting some communications out about that. On communications, we've been posting on Instagram and our website with different health communications, specifically around the MMR vaccine and providing education, as well as maternal mental health awareness. That about covers it today.
Wow.
So busy year, been doing a lot, and looking forward to the summer.
So this contract, the Public Health Excellence Grant, it was a 3-year contract, so we have it till the end of FY 27. And then,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All good stuff. Don't do the tick and mosquito season.
I know.
Quieter.
I think we're crossing our fingers. So far, weather looks like mosquito season might be a little calmer than last year.
Ticks are always there.
They're persistent.
Lot of deer in my backyard, in my front yard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments? No, sounds promising.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
I know it's a quick wrap up for everything you've been doing.
You should make the time for
The high levels, but.
And we're gonna skip over approval of meetings. Or can we go through them?
I think you
Oh,
can,
we can, we got it, right? Okay. So we switch the font.
oh no.
Did we?
Are all the meetings, if, well, of course, I can't remember from March 11th, but were they done through Zoom and the remote meeting thing on there? Do we know? It's not mentioned, the only one mentioned on this 25th one where we have the animal control thing.
Huh.
So I'm just wondering if it was there for everyone, then maybe it has to be mentioned.
I think everyone on March 11th and April 8th were in person.
And no Zoom. Okay, just making sure.
We can double check it, so we can add that.
Yeah. That's what, it seems like we've been having it almost every
Mhm.
month. I just want to make sure we're going to do it. It should be- The only thing I had is on the last one from April 8th. That's, my last name is spelled incorrectly down.
Yeah? My goodness, let me see.
Jane.
Hmm,
Two variants.
I see it. Yeah. So sorry.
I proofread everything at the office.
He does.
I,
Yeah, I think that's.
So why do we keep them all around?
my team doesn't like that. Waste too much time on your corrections.
I will correct that before it's posted.
Then something gonna say, who the heck is that person? One or two things I saw. Yes.
Anything going on with Brittany's?
Yeah, the gentleman who owns Venus Pizza.
Yeah.
Is reopening it. He's doing construction as we speak. I don't have a date for
Or
it.
his pizza place in there?
No, he's gonna put a breakfast place.
Okay.
It's gonna be the same kind of breakfast. I'm not 100% sure if lunch will be included, but only just during the days, not at night. And Blue Square's bringing all their equipment in next week,
And they're going to,
where Texas Barbecue was across the street from Venus and Brittany's.
that's gonna be done.
So they'll be open. I don't have a date specifically, but sometime in June. I think.
Another pizza place, huh?
Very different if you have pizza. So they're different from all the other, the just Detroit style.
Oh, yeah.
They'll have more like that big and balsamic kind of pizzas like that. kind of thing. Yeah,
Is that across?
the Detroit is.
Yeah.
Big and prosciutto,
Hmm?
big and prosciutto and balsamic.
Sounds good.
I mean, it is good, but
Prosciutto.
nothing beats pepperoni.
Yeah, then, well, let's just say they're all welcome.
They're all.
What is renovations on this saying? Renovations for the hotel property on Route 9? Do we have a name for that hotel property, or is it just?
Is it going to be a Hilton product, you know?
No, I couldn't tell you the exact plan, just
No, which property is it though?
Hotel
It's the former hotel site.
The Motel Six, oh, next to the,
Yeah.
yeah, and,
Next to Castle Verde.
Next, something by, it's gonna be next.
that's,
Yeah, we had
Yeah, I
heard,
saw-
you know, a
I
Hilton
saw
product,
that.
it's a 3-star Hilton product, is what we were told.
Any corrections, concerns, or amendments? All right, so April 8th was the one you just
Yeah.
made the correction. All right, I'm gonna go into other meetings. Let's see, March 11th, 2025. All those in favor of approval of the meeting minutes for that date as recorded and written?
I would send a motion.
Your motion first. Motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2025 as written and recorded.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's go with the next one. Motion to approve the minutes from March 25th, 2025 as written and recorded.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with regards to the April, motion to approve the minutes from April 8th, 2025 as accepting the corrections as pointed out by Dr. Jane.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're getting somewhere. Good. And any other business to come before the board?
From us.
Not from me.
All right.
Okay. I need to go visit 15 businesses in the town.
I'm sure.
Say hello.
Everything
No, that's good.
falling out his window and right on his top of his car.
Yes. What are those? Bullhorns. I have one at home. Okay, with that in mind, I move that we adjourn the meeting. 4 minutes to 7. Are those in favor?